I've located the Pathfinder. I found the source.
Pathfinder, come in! Abort immediately!
The jungle moon of Kael'Veren had no mercy for anything that fell from its sky. Marcus Cole had crashed 3 days ago. His scout shuttle reduced to a smoking grave of metal half swallowed by ferns the size of houses. He survived on ration bars and stubbornness, picking through the wreck each morning for anything still useful. A comm chip, a half-charged battery, a reason to keep moving. It was the smell that stopped him on the 4th morning. Burnt metal, and underneath it something sweeter. Smoke rising from a second wreck. Hidden behind a wall of black fern fronds 200 meters from his own crash site. Every survival instinct told him to stay put. Instead, he followed the smoke. The second ship was smaller than his, sleeker, built from a silver alloy he didn't recognize. Its hull crumpled like foil around a cockpit that had buried itself nose first in the mud. Sparks hissed from a torn panel. And from a gap in the wreckage, lit by the dying orange glow of a fire that hadn't quite gone out, a hand reached toward him. It wasn't human. The fingers were long, the skin a deep, luminous blue that pulsed faintly at the knuckles like something alive beneath the surface. Marcus froze for exactly 1 second before training took over. He dropped to his knees beside the gap. Inside, pinned beneath a collapsed support beam, was a woman, if that word even applied. Her face was unmistakably feminine, framed by dark, wet hair. Her eyes a pale, glowing gold that found his in the dark and held them with a clarity that startled him. She was bleeding from somewhere beneath the metal. She was also, impossibly, still conscious enough to speak. "Leave," she said. Her voice was rough, accented, but the translator implant behind his ear caught it clean. "Go. I am already dead. Don't let the wreck take you too." "You're not dead yet," Marcus said, already working his hands into the gap, testing the weight of the beam. "That's the part you skipped. You don't understand what I am." Her gold eyes flicked toward the ship's crushed nose, toward markings he didn't recognize. A crest, maybe, or a rank. "If others come looking for me, they will burn this whole valley to ash. Let me die here. It is cleaner." Cleaner for who? He braced his shoulder against the beam and pushed. Barely moved. "Not for me. I just got here." She didn't answer. Marcus found a length of pipe in the debris and wedged it under the beam as a lever, throwing his weight onto it until something in his shoulder screamed and the metal groaned and lifted. Just enough. He pulled her free by the arms, and she came out lighter than he expected, like the crash had burned away everything in her except will. She passed out before he got her 50 meters from the ship. He carried her to his own camp, a lean-to built from shuttle paneling and fern leaves, and laid her on the only blanket he had left. In better light, he could see the wounds properly. A deep gash along her ribs, burns along one forearm, the blue glow of her skin dimming and flaring unevenly, like a signal losing strength. He cleaned what he could and packed the rib wound with synth gel. His hand steady out of habit, even though nothing about this felt steady at all. She woke twice in the night. The first time, she only stared at him, gold eyes unreadable in the dark, and said nothing. The second time, near dawn, her voice was stronger. "Why?" she said. "Just that." "Why what? Why does a human cross a jungle for a stranger who told him not to?" Marcus considered lying, dressing it up in something noble. He didn't. "Because I've watched enough people decide they were already dead before they actually were. I don't like watching it twice." She studied him for a long moment, the kind of look that seemed to weigh more than her body did. "I am Veare. Am what your language might call a queen. Last of a line my own people decided was too dangerous to let live. The hunters who did this to my ship will not stop looking. Then we won't be here when they find this spot, Marcus said. But that's tomorrow's problem. By the second evening, Vera could sit up on her own, though she still moved like every motion cost her something. Marcus had spent the afternoon checking snares he'd set days ago and came back with 2 small game birds, awkward and gray-feathered, the first real meat he'd had since the crash. He cooked them over the fire the way his grandmother used to do it on Earth. Slow, with crushed wild herbs he'd identified as safe through days of careful trial and error. Vera watched him work in silence, her gold eyes following his hands instead of the flames. "You are not preparing a ritual," she said eventually. It wasn't quite a question. "No, just dinner." He handed her a piece on a strip of bark, since plates hadn't survived the crash. "You eat. I talk too much when I'm hungry, so eat fast." She laughed. Actually laughed, a short, startled sound like she hadn't expected her own body to make it. "Among my people, no one has fed me since I was small enough to need it. There is always a purpose. A debt owed afterward." "There's no debt," Marcus said. "I just didn't want to eat alone." Vera looked at the food in her hands, then up at the dark canopy where, somewhere above the storm clouds, hunters might already be searching for a queen who refused to die quietly. She thought of the wreck, of the voice that told him to leave her there, and how easily he had ignored it. "Then I will not let you eat alone tomorrow either," she said. "Or the day after, until your rescue comes, or mine finds us first." Marcus glanced at the sky, then back at her, and for the first time since the crash, the silence between them felt less like survival and more like company. "Deal," he said. "But you're cooking next time." Outside the lean-to, the jungle moon kept its secrets, and somewhere far above the clouds, the hunters were still coming. But for tonight, beside a small fire neither of them had expected to share, 2 people who should have been strangers, or enemies, ate dinner together, and neither one of them was alone.